Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and this is the Omoda E5. It's an all-new, all-electric crossover from Omoda, who you've never heard of. But let's see if it's any good. So as with my other Omoda video, I'm actually here at the UK launch of these cars, which means I don't have long. So we're here and we're going to do the video like this. Let's start by pointing out some of the differences you get for this to be the EV model. You'll notice the front grille is gone and there is now this kind of lump here. Well, it's not a lump, it doesn't stick out or anything, but this separate panel. This actually pops up and over, and inside is your charging port. Under the bonnet, you've got a frunk. It's not particularly big, but it probably would take your charging cables, which is very handy. Again, we have the design with the high-level running light and the low-level actual lights. Overall, the design of the car, much as with the ICE one, is fairly inoffensive, nondescript, but nice looking. There's nothing here that I'm disliking. So we go round the side, you can see again, or you can see a nice low profile tapering way to the back, very raked rear screen. And we have some aero style wheels. They're 18 inches, as you can see on the tyre right there. They'll be good for the drag coefficient. Fairly conventional down the side. And then round to the back, we get to the badging. This is badged E5. There is nothing over here. On the ICE model, there's like an engine output, but this is the electric. This is also a comfort spec, so I will open the boot, and I have to actually properly open it myself. In here we have 380 litres of space, which for the size of car is perfectly adequate. This is a C-segment crossover, and yes, there are rivals that offer much more space, but they're actually physically much bigger cars. This is more similar in size to a Nissan Qashqai, and then when considered that way, the boot is perfectly well sized. If I pop my bag back in, I can lift this up and we will find a full-size spare wheel. The seats drop 60-40 split folding from little levers at the back. There's no kinds of way to drop them in the boot. You do have some tie-down hooks, a 12-volt socket and a light, but I think we should get into those seats and see what they're like. The back seats, this is a comfort model first off, so I've got fabric seat centers, vegan leather outers. I've got headroom. I have just about enough leg room. This seat is in my driving position. I'm 180 centimeters tall. The seat back is soft, but I do have to push my legs into it if I want to sit with them directly behind the seat. There's kind of enough space here though, between the door and the seat for my legs. Enough space for my feet as well. Pretty much flat floor, which you would expect in an electric car, but obviously this is a platform share with an ICE vehicle, so it wasn't guaranteed. Air vent, singular air vent back here, a USB-A and a USB-C, and two blanked buttons, seat back pockets in both these seats, decent sized door pockets, enough space for a bottle of water, and you've got Isofix on flip-up covers, which won't get lost. The seats themselves are perfectly comfortable. It's a nice wide flat bench, although I think 3 adults wouldn't really be suitable. 3 children though would probably fit okay. Let's go to the front and see how it is in there. Okay, here we are in the front, and I want to note that this interior is almost entirely different from the ICE vehicle. There is a little kind of hoop around the top of the dashboard that lines up with the doors that is a continued element, but otherwise the materials, the finishes, even the positioning of things is entirely changed. Different infotainment system even. So let's try and go through it. I'm going to start with materials. Oh, as I've said, this is comfort. This is, of the 2 trims, the lower one. Fabric seat centers, leather outers on these, with white piping, integrated headrests as well on these seats. Lovely. Feels very premium. Wood on the dashboard with a little Brightwork silver streak underneath it, and then piano black at the level of the air vents. I don't have climate controls anywhere, though, on the dashboard as buttons. You do on the ICE car. I think, while this looks kind of more premium, I would rather have the buttons. You also have your shift controller up here on the stalk, on a column, which means this is all kind of freed up, so the cup holders are moved here to the front, along with a covered wireless charger, which is ventilated, but if you have a phone as large as mine, it doesn't quite fit in there. I have another kind of cubby storage here, which is handy to put the key in. This is felt lined. All of these things have lids that are nicely kind of damped. I also still have a huge center console storage area, and I still have a huge glove box. The under console storage area has grown. There's even more space in there now, and you still have really good sized door pockets with a kind of space for a bottle in them. Also, now the screens, these are 12-inch screens. They're slightly curved towards the driver. Obviously, you've got your infotainment and your driver's display. There's no power button in this car. Just when you get in it with the key, it's on. If I put my foot on the brake, yeah, there we go. So that kind of brings up everything on the driver's display. I do have drive modes. They have these funky animations here in the center. It's like something from a video game. That's really quite fun. But important information here. I've got my speed. I've got my tire pressures. I can sort of swap through various things, including my map. I can actually get up in my gauge cluster here. Wireless, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. If you do want to wire things in, that's down here. There's USB-A and a USB-C and a 12-volt socket, though obviously that doesn't have any kind of data connection associated with it. The general infotainment, though, I don't think it's quite as good as the other system. It's not quite as responsive, and it's a bit more fiddly. And I'm not sure I like the graphics as much, even. I do think what a modder considers to be the slightly older system is more preferable to me. Some nice features in here, though. I do have a full climate suite. If I swipe that up, I've got preconditioning in here. I have a pet mode if I want to leave a pet in the car. Heated seats in the front, and if you go to the top spec, you get heated seats in the back as well. The price point, that's very impressive. I think, though, for everything else, we'll talk about it on the drive. So, driving the Omoda E5. Let's start by changing drive mode to Sport. Let's go. Ooh, little bit of Scrabble, and then, ooh, a little bit more. Oh, it is quick, though. So this is front wheel drive, has 204 PS, and that can mean, well, any car with this sort of level of power tends to be a little bit scrabbly through the front wheels because of the instant torque delivery. Now I have my cheat sheet here for all of my facts and figures, and that's a good thing because I've forgotten the torque level. Okay, so now I've refreshed myself. It's 340 Newton meters of torque, and that equates to a 0 to 62 time of 7.2 seconds. So this is actually faster than the ICE car, though of course it is more powerful. A little bit heavier as well, as you might expect. It's a 61 kilowatt hour battery sitting underneath this, which does add some heft. But actually it's not too heavy compared to its rivals and compatriots. In terms of general controls, it's very, very light steering. Be great for in-town or city use, but there's basically no feel. Wouldn't necessarily expect there to be any. The brakes are good and strong. There's not kind of a weird engagement around the regen. I've got kind of an indication of, it gives me a minus power figure for how much regen I'm using, and then obviously when you push fully, you just get brakes. Well, not just brakes, but you get the brakes as well to bring you to a stop as quickly as possible. The throttle is set by the different driving modes. Obviously in Eco it's going to be quite gradual. In Sport it's a bit more urgent. Put your foot down and it'll go, and the wheels will scrabble again. It's quite controllable while it is spinning its front wheels, though. The steering doesn't move out of your hands. There's not too much torque steer. I imagine that's because of the very assisted nature of what's occurring here. And general driving position, I'm sat quite high in the vehicle. My head is fairly close to the roof, but I do have the cockpit around me. Visibility wise, it's very good all around, apart from the rear window, which is a little shallow. But I've got nice big door mirrors, easy to see. Even on this comfort spec car, I've still got a reversing camera and all-round parking sensors. If you go up to the Noble or Comfort Plus spec, you will then get a surround view camera, which is excellent. I've used it on the ICE model. very, very clear, works very, very well. And I still have smart radar cruise on the steering wheel. Again, the steering wheel buttons, they've gone from being buttons to there's kind of, well, there is a physical push, but they're all on a piano black piece of plastic and they're kind of touch sensitive. But the radar cruise itself, does it let me engage it now? Yeah. If I engage that now, it does work very well. It keeps you between the lines. It will steer you into the centre of the lane if needed. Although I would suggest, obviously, you're in control of the car. You should always be driving for yourself. But that's, we're talking about a £33,000 electric car here. Now, obviously, there are things lower price than this. MG4, BYD Dolphin, which are similarly sized, but at the prices where they undercut this, they're not offering as much range as this. And also, I'm not able to confirm this today, but Moda apparently have been very conservative with their homologation, with this range that they've given, this 256 miles, and apparently that's actually easily achievable, is the way I've seen it being phrased. Not just by Moda and their people, but also by other journalists and car testers. So it's not like, the long range MG4 actually, can quite significantly underdeliver depending on the conditions and how you drive, which means that the range ends up being 250 miles anyway. And that's actually a more expensive car. Just about. It's marginal. So there's not a huge amount on the market that'll give you more range for less money, especially in this size of package. And for the majority of the time, if you're not, super into your electric car, whatever, this is actually just kind of like a normal car. The one thing I have noticed so far that I'm not enjoying is the safety bongs and lane departure wheel stealing seem to be more prevalent than they are on the ICE car. Now, my understanding is this is effectively like a modernised, updated system compared to the ICE vehicle, because it was developed slightly later. So this is a kind of, in Moda's mind, a better version of their infotainment and other software. But actually, I think the old version is better, personally. And if I wanted to go and get an Moda because I thought it looked good and I liked the value for money and everything else, I would say buy the petrol one for now, maybe, and wait on the electric. It is little things like safety bongs and a lack of separate climate controls that the ICE car is doing better. But also, the ICE car starts from 25, and I don't know how good you are at maths, but that's a lot less money than £33,000 with all the same tech, and it's nearly as fast, so there's no great performance difference. And I want to be clear, I like electric cars. I think they work very well for a lot of people. I think in the future many of us will drive EVs or something else similarly powered. But just the cost difference to get what I'm feeling is a slightly worse experience. The driving experience is absolutely fine. It's the UX experience. I mean, look at this now. I'm on an unmarked B road. There's no lines at the edge. There's no lines in the centre. And it's constantly telling me, because there's no centre lines, that I'm going off the left-hand side of the road. It wants me to drive down the centre of the road, which is fine when there's nothing coming and there's no corners. But as soon as I reach a corner or a crossroads, as I'm coming up to you now, I need to bear to the left-hand side of the road in case there is something coming. And I wouldn't want to have to drive a car that's going to constantly bong at me to tell me you're going to have a crash, when actually what I'm doing is avoiding having an accident. This is a big problem with a lot of modern cars. Oh God, it's going to just keep going. There is a way to turn this off, but because of certain laws and mandates, it has to be on every time you start the vehicle, and you have to manually turn it off every single time, which, no matter how easy it is to turn off, is a faff. Shut up. It's a shame though, because also I think the ride is even more composed actually than the ice car. Little bit of extra weight, so on these kinds of bumpy, broken B roads, it feels even better damped and controlled. The ice car completely kind of soaks up and numbs all of the bumps, lumps, everything else, and it's very comfortable, but this just feels even more planted. I think that that's enough from me. Let's go back and do a little conclusion. So, the Omoda E5, what am I thinking? There's no denying that this is a lot of car for the money. A 250 mile family EV for less than £35,000 is excellent value. The interior is lovely, the driving dynamics are perfectly adequate for this kind of vehicle. I honestly think you should check this out if you're looking at a car in this segment. Now personally, I'd like them to go back to the same kind of interior controls as the ice car, but otherwise, this is pretty darn good. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. You'll find all the links to all of our social medias down in the description. You'll also find 2 ways you can support the channel. So we have channel merch that I'm currently wearing. Please go and buy some of that. And we also have channel memberships right here on YouTube. So please go and do one or all of those things. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.